T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We go for main engine start. We have main engine start. And ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of STS-7 and America's first woman astronaut.
Sally Ride left Earth on June 18, 1983 in the Challenger space shuttle STS-7 on a mission to become the first American woman to travel to space. Ride took a stand against gender stereotypes and overcame challenges by becoming the first female astronaut. And later on, she cemented her place in history by teaching the next generation about STEM. Sally Ride has become a beacon for hope and inspiration through her explorations of the final frontier. Sally Ride was born in Encino, California, United States on May 26, 1951. She was part of a family of 4, and her parents, Dale Ride and Carol Anderson, helped cultivate Ride's love to explore and try new things. Sally Ride graduated in the class of 1968 from Westlake School for Girls in Los Angeles, California. In high school, she was captain of the tennis team, played volleyball and basketball, and was a member of Honor Society. Ride went on to Stanford University, where she graduated with her PhD in physics. She joined NASA in 1978 and on June 18, 1983 became the first American woman in space, as well as the youngest woman in space at the age of 32. Also in 1978, Sally Ride joined the astronaut program. She had to beat more than 8,300 other applicants to get a position on the Challenger crew. She was selected as one of the first 6 women to do spaceflight training. Sally Ride bested all the other applicants and was chosen to go on the STS-7 Challenger space shuttle for her first mission. The purpose of her first mission on the STS-7 was to have 2 communication satellites deployed, ANIKC-2 for Canada and PALAPA-B1 for Indonesia. Ride's history-making Challenger mission was not her only spaceflight. She launched on another Challenger mission, STS-41G, on October 5, 1984. The mission lasted 9 days, and on that flight she used the shuttle's robotic arm to move ice from the shuttle's exterior and adjust the radar antenna. Ride was assigned to a 3rd shuttle mission, but her crew's training was cut short by the Challenger disaster in January 1986. The Challenger disaster happened 73 seconds after liftoff, and the shuttle completely exploded. It claimed all 7 lives of the astronauts on flight. This caused a lot of attention by the media, so NASA had to temporarily shut down the shuttle missions. Ride was assigned to investigate the disaster after it happened. It was due to a failure of the rubber O-rings caused by low temperature. In 1987, Sally Ride retired from NASA and became a professor at the University of California, San Diego. Even though she retired, her love for space and science never waned. While she was teaching, she looked for new and exciting ways to get more girls and women into science. One of the ways she got young people interested in science was through the EarthCam. It's a camera attached to the space station that allows middle school students to take pictures of Earth. On June 1, 1989, she was appointed Director of California Space Institute at Scripps Institution of Oceanography and Professor of Physics at the University of California, San Diego. In 2001, Sally Ride, along with her partner Tam O'Shaughnessy, Karen Flammer, Terry McEntee, and Alan Lopez, founded Sally Ride Science. This non-profit organization is aimed at getting the next generation and more girls interested in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and to promote STEM literacy. Being the first at anything is hard, and Sally Ride encountered lots of opposition in the media. News companies asked her lots of sexist questions before and after her flights. The press was curious if she was taking up any makeup with her into space, and once Ride was asked if she had cried when there were malfunctions in the space flight simulator. Sally Ride talked about how the only bad moments in her crew's training involved the press. Other horrible questions Ride got were, will the flight affect your reproductive organs? Do you cry when you're under pressure? What do you do when you get your period in space? Ride went on to say that she was asked about the bathroom facilities in every single interview, and that in one interview the press completely made up an entire conversation about whether or not she would be wearing a bra in space. Throughout the majority of Sally Ride's education, NASA was a closed-door club to women. Ride had settled with being an astrophysicist until the 1970s when NASA finally opened up the astronaut program to women. Since the early 1960s, NASA said that they would accept women, but the requirements that women had to meet to become an astronaut were simply unattainable. In the early 1960s, to become an astronaut, you would have to have a degree in science, as well as have flight training. These requirements kept women out of NASA for many years. Eventually, in the early 1970s and late 1960s, NASA removed the requirement to have flight training. Once again, many women applied, but none were accepted because they could not have a degree in science. By 1978, when Sally Ride applied to be an astronaut, women could get their degrees in science. Dr. Ride had a Bachelor of the Arts degree in English and a Bachelor of Science degree in physics. She also had a master's degree in physics and a PhD in physics. Sally Ride did not only have one degree in science, but multiple. This took an enormous amount of effort and perseverance, since at the time, it was still difficult to get a degree. ABC News said that Ride was an unapologetic feminist, but she didn't make choices with politics in mind. They interviewed an early college boyfriend who talked about how he thought that Sally Ride was 20 years ahead of her time and had an unstated demand to be treated as an equal. He said that she just asserted herself in a way that said, "I am here and I am capable of doing it." Sally Ride once said, "I would like to be remembered as someone who was not afraid to do what she wanted to do, and as someone who took risks along the way in order to achieve her goals." Ride carried this determination throughout her entire career and even out of the astronaut field. Shortly after Sally Ride went on her first mission and proved that women were capable to be astronauts, NASA started to hire more women into the astronaut program. Women were beginning to be looked upon as equals in the work environment. Growing up in the 1970s and 1980s, the jobs open to Sally Ride and other women at the time were very limited. You could either be a nurse, teacher, secretary, or housewife. Sally Ride herself had already decided to go against the norm when she studied to become an astrophysicist. It was not socially acceptable to be in the science field as a woman, and in the majority of her classes, she was the only woman in the room. Sally Ride saw the wanted poster from NASA, and she knew that becoming an astronaut was what she wanted to do. Sally Ride stood up against the unfair stereotype that said women could never measure up to men. Beating more than 8,000 applicants, mainly men, and a few other women was no easy task. Sally Ride had to be the best of the best to become an astronaut. Sally Ride's stand against gender stereotypes has changed the way we live. Nowadays, it is hardly a concept that men are better than women at science. Sally Ride stood for all demographics and showed that no matter what you look like, you can achieve anything. Sally Ride left a lasting mark on humanity and to us how the world looks at women in the sciences. On an interview with Jan Davis, who is a renowned engineer, an astronaut who came right after Ride, and an executive at NASA, she commented on Ride's impact.
She affected the world in a lot of ways. She was a physicist and a competitive tennis player, and I think she was a very well-rounded person who just wanted to do the best at everything she did, and I don't think she looks at herself as a hero or a person who made history or whatever. She just was doing the best at her job, and so I think definitely she's been a role model and blazed the trail for the rest of us to fly. In her post-astronaut career, she dedicated her life to encouraging, especially women, to enter, science, technology, engineering, and math. I mean, I admire her for what she did in the astronaut program. She was an inspiration to me. But even after she was an astronaut, she was, interested in supporting women pursuing STEM fields. With her notoriety and fame, she could have done a lot of different things, but she decided to dedicate her life to encouraging young people to be interested in those scientific fields and engineering and space.
Sally Ride passed away on July 23rd of 2012 due to pancreatic cancer. Even though Ride is no longer with us, her multiple flights to space, as well as her work with the next generation that broke down gender barrier after barrier, has shaped our culture as well as our way of life. Her battle against gender stereotypes has made it so that anyone can pursue their dreams, no matter their gender, and anyone can become anything if they put their mind to it.